Sheila?
Yay.
This is the fun part, guys. I'd like to call to order a meeting for the Novi Board of Education for Thursday evening, November 7th, 2019. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to ask Ms. Hood, who's acting as our secretary this evening, to do a roll call.
Trustee Cook.
Here.
Hood, here. Trustee Mena, no. He is traveling, I think.
He's traveling and excused.
Trustee Murphy.
She is in Washington, D.C., excused.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ruskin.
She's at the MASB conference in Traverse City.
And Trustee Smith.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by asking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Support? Moved by Trustee Cook, supported by Trustee Roney. I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Agenda is approved. I'd also like to turn to Calvin, a senior at Novi High School, to provide us with the student board member report.
Good evening, guys. Tomorrow, Novi High School will be taking over 200 students to the My Career Quest Southeast. Students will have the opportunity to talk with working professionals in a variety of fields and get real hands-on experience working with equipment and technology. As far as student and teacher activities, the annual Frog Force Frenzy First Tech Challenge State Qualifying Tournament will take place on Saturday, November 16th, 2019 at the Novi Middle School. Novi Student Council is planning a fall informal dance, which will be held at Novi High School from 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday, November 22nd. In athletics, congrats to Novi cross-country runners Lizzie Babick, Matt Gustes, and Matt White, who completed at cross-country states last weekend. Lizzie Babick finished 6th, Matt White finished 22nd in the state, both earning a state medal. Congrats to Novi Marching Band, who finished 5th at states this past weekend. Congrats to Novi Varsity Pom, who competed last weekend at their high kick competition. Good luck to girls swim, who will be competing at Brighton High School for the KLAA conference. And good luck to Novi volleyball as they compete in districts this week.
I think they're playing right now at
Yes.
Northville for the championship. That's awesome.
So Kelvin, so did you go to elementary Novi?
I did.
So where'd you go?
Novi Woods.
Novi Woods, all right. So thinking about your whole career here, favorite teacher?
Favorite.
Oh yeah. It's not to say anyone else was bad.
Put me on the spot, Mr.
No, not
Robert.
really. Just go ahead. I mean, maybe somebody this year. Maybe it's a favorite class. What do you really enjoy?
I enjoy business.
Business.
Yes.
Like what kind of business?
Like Mrs. Forster business.
Yeah, she is all about business,
Yeah.
isn't she? She's an
Yes.
amazing teacher.
Yeah, she's, yeah.
So is that what you'd like to go into? Is business?
Yes.
Fantastic. So make sure you keep in contact with people from the community. We have people here tonight, actually. We have somebody here who's at FANUC, who's a major robotics company. And Mr. Smith here likes to consider himself a businessman. And Miss Hood likes to consider herself a businesswoman.
No.
So make sure, don't forget to utilize those contacts that you have within the community when you leave the community.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And we'll let Miss Forrester know, because she might not be watching. I think our viewership's like 2 a night. So if she's not one of the 2, we'll go ahead and let her know that you really appreciate what she's got such a strong teaching game.
Yeah, of
hasn't
course.
she?
She's really changed to open my eyes.
Wow. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for being here. Now, is this informal dance? Is this one of the first times we've done this?
Yeah,
7 to
so
16?
it's been,
Wow.
although we've been planning it for 2 months, it's actually been 2 or 3 years in the making.
Wow.
We've been trying to get something out as far as council. Finally got the interest. And so, yeah, it's big for
So
council.
informal, that means no corsages and things like that? What does that
Yes.
mean? T-shirts and jeans informal? Or what are we talking?
A little bit more than that, but students are welcome to wear whatever they want.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's fantastic. So the board members could show up to chaperone.
You guys
the
can
principal
more
card
than
and
welcome.
chaperones.
More than welcome to come.
I'll volunteer the board members. I think that'd be fantastic. I'm acting superintendent, so I can do these things. All right.
I think you should go back
So,
and watch some reruns of Family Ties. And
Maybe
then,
Back to the Future.
well, we talked about the character, Alex, was it
Yeah,
Alex Keaton?
yeah.
He was a big business fanatic as a young man.
Okay.
Oh, that's true. That
See?
was.
So that could be a good role model for you.
Wow.
I got. Thank you, Calvin. You're
Calvin,
welcome
thank
to
you
stay.
so much.
You may excuse yourself if you'd like. And
Have a
go
great night.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
do some
Thank
homework
you
and
so
go to the volleyball game. All right, I'd like to move along to reports to the board. I'll move to you, Dr. Weber.
Certainly. Thank you very much. It is really a distinct pleasure to be here tonight to introduce one of my very favorite people in Novi who really took, a vision really is 1% of anything, but the actual work and execution of making that vision a reality is 99% in pretty much everything. About 5 years ago, Darby Hoppenstedt, who is an employee of the district, she and I are Rotarians, and we were going into a clergy meeting at the Novi Public Library. And the group of clergy from around the community were thinking, like, what can we do to give back? What can we do to do something for our community? And we posited the idea of a summer feeding program, something that we could do to help kids who maybe get free and reduced lunches in the school year but don't have access to food in the summertime. And really what that morphed into is something called Feed the Need. And Rotary was a primary driver behind that. However, what it's expanded into, what you're going to see tonight is, imagine an idea that started at the Novi Public Library among a few people, and then the execution of people like Tia Marie Sanders, Brian Barrett, so many Rotarians. I look at Wayne Roble, God rest his soul, who was part of this initial group as well. He was a Novi City Council member, but he was also part of the initial group to get this Feed the Need going. And however, the story of how this really works is Tia Marie Sanders. So Tia, if you could come to the podium, please. The school district's relationship in this is that we provide the home for it in Novi, right, at Village Oaks. So Village Oaks Elementary is really the home and the epicenter of Feed the Need. Aval Gazzarato helps us tremendously with Chartwells and providing that. But what it is expanded into is a story that I don't think we could have ever dreamt 5 years ago, that the numbers you're going to share tonight are what we're realizing, the reach we're realizing. Partners like Kroger and National Food Group and on and on and on that have contributed to this. It's stunning. So thank you very much. So I'd like to introduce Tia Marie Sanders, who's going to do a presentation for us on Feed the Need.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I can actually sit down now. So thank you, board members, for allowing me to come here this evening and actually share with you a program that's a passion of my heart, a passion of some of our board members, Dr. Weber, as you mentioned, Brian Barrett, Darby Hoppenstedt, several people that are in our community, even some people who are behind the scenes like Ms. Sheila Hawley, who makes sure that all of my flyers get out and everybody gets to know about it. And supporters like the Novi Educational Foundation are all really integral to making this what it is. I might be on the execution side, but none of this would happen without all of you and your support and promotion of the program. So I do want to share what this year was like. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible.
Take your time. This is good news.
Are you
Don't
sure?
rush through
okay.
this.
I didn't
Look at these
know.
numbers. You
Okay.
kidding me?
So first of all, I'm really proud that this was our 5th year, 2019. I could not have imagined the 5 years have gone by so quickly. But when we started out, we had 1 day a week, which was 11 weeks, and only at one location. Halfway through, we ended up realizing that we needed to add more locations because there were more kids that we weren't reaching. When I started the programming for the program, I realized that we did not have a lot of kids that were coming. And when I would talk to families, it was because they didn't have transportation. So Novi, being the wonderful city that it is with these beautiful amenities, some of our families are isolated due to lack of public transportation. So rather than let that be an issue for us, we immediately started to mobilize and figure out how we could get lunches directly to them. And that took more partnerships, more volunteers. The very first day we had 53 kids show up. By midsummer, we were already serving almost 150 kids, and we added 2 more locations. By the end of the summer, we had served 1,700 lunches for 1 day a week over 11 weeks. And just recently, in 2019, I almost can't say it without smiling so much, we were blessed to be able to do 10,535 lunches in 7 locations throughout Novi directly to those families that needed it. And sometimes when we have extra lunches, they go to grandparents that are taking care of their grandchildren. They go to extra siblings in the household, some siblings with special needs in the household. So we are able to serve a lot more than just a sack lunch to the one child. But The other thing that changed after the first year was the Rotary said, is there anything more that we can do? And I said, of course, we can add tutoring and a lot of other programs. So as I talk about what happened, every year we've been able to build on the program based on what the needs have been in the summer for our families, whether they are in an income challenge situation or just at the border of an income challenge situation or doing okay but want some amenities and some activities for their kids, especially if they have 3 and in some cases 6 kids in their family. We have one family that had 2 sets of twins plus 2 children. Didn't plan for that, but we were able to help them out over the summer, and Dad was not working and Dad is now working. So we've been able to really add some great amenities. All right, so as RJ mentioned, the Novi Rotary Foundation is the sponsor of the Feed the Need program, but we have many sponsors. One of the things that our mission is that I take to heart is that Feed the Need is to feed each child's mind, body, and spirit, and this is my favorite part of that mission, in a dignified manner. No matter what their situation is, no matter what their home life is, when they walk through the doors, in this particular case, Village Oaks, I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel like they belong and to not feel some of the adverse situations that they might be going through at home or any trauma, that when they come to us, they feel like they are alive and vibrant and that they're going to be loved on and treated with the utmost respect. That means a lot to me. All right, the next thing is, so a lot of people have asked, like, how many kids do we technically feed? We have about 800 to 900 kids that are on free and reduced lunch, but we also get many of the kids that don't qualify for free and reduced lunch that are also coming to the program. So their families make just over the state poverty level, but it's still not a very affordable existence. So we take care of the kids that are on free and reduced lunch, for those that are just over. And we believe in serving all children who need it the most. And so that ends up being a lot of kids. And we also focus on nutrition education to make healthy choices. So when they are able to get food at home or have to go to the local convenience store to get food in some cases because they can't get to a grocery store, we hope that the kids are flipping those packages over and taking a look at the labels to see what they're eating, just like the school does during the school year when they talk to kids about healthy lunches. So, and most importantly, everyone is welcome. So where do we help? Again, as I mentioned, we have to spread out pretty far to try to meet the needs. Most of our kids will walk or ride their bike. Some parents do drive to our different locations. Village Oaks Elementary School is our main location where we do many of our programs out of there. But the mobile home parks are also another area. Oakland Glens Mobile Home Park is one of our largest mobile home populations that we're doing about 125 lunches there per day. But we also added this year Flex Tech High School, which is actually about 1.5 miles or so from Novi High School, that also has summer school. And we found after they reached out to us that there was a need even at their school to have school lunches. They don't have a kitchen or anything to prepare lunches, so we were able to support that school as well. And these are the numbers. This is everybody's favorite part. So just to get a breakdown of about how much we did in lunches, and I do the total lunches for the whole summer, but also kind of what our average daily count is. And there is a slight difference in the number of days because we do the 2 schools for summer school. They don't go the full summer. They only go about, I think, 8 or 9 weeks. So we actually do the high schools during the time that they're open. And then Country Cousins Mobile Home Park, we only have about 15 kids in that mobile home park. One family has 6 of those 15 kids. And there's a grandmother that takes care of all of them. So we do make a special effort to make sure we get to her. She doesn't have a vehicle, so getting kids lunch in the summer and trying to manage these kids that range from stroller age all the way up to, I think the oldest is 9 years old, so that we can help her out. But because we're the kind of program that we are, we can be that nimble and that specific in the way that we help. And jump in if you have questions. This is another proud partnership. This would not happen without the school district's Chartwells, which does some of our lunches here in the school district, National Food Group, which also helps with some of the snacks that we have, and Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. How I got to have West Bloomfield involved was in our very first year, we were at Village Oaks, and we had a very bad storm and lost power in that building. By 7 a.m., we found out that all of our food in the refrigerators and the freezers was gone, and lunch had to be served at 11 o'clock that day. I called around to just about every place I could imagine, and Henry Ford picked up the phone. The chef said, well, we don't really help with lunches in this way. He said, well, let me call you back. And he said, because I want to do this. And he went to his superiors and said, I want to do this lunch for her today. We got to get the kids their lunch. They not only made the lunches, but put notes in each one of the lunches that just were like little notes that said, we love you, you're special, and have partnered with us every year since. And those chefs that are in the picture are some of the chefs that help us prepare the food. Every lunch that got opened, it just touched my heart what they felt about our kids. And I said, can we do more than this? Can we partner beyond this? And they've been a partner with us for 5 years now. So also, as RJ mentioned, Evolve, she actually plans out all of our menus for the year to make sure they're healthy and fun and what the kids are used to getting. So it's very seamless from school to summer what the kids are eating. So I'm not going to call off all of these, but what we do, this is where we have expanded the most over the last few years. The tutoring program, the educational cooking programs. We've also this year added mental health, so all 9 weeks of our 11 weeks, every week we have Mindfulness Mondays, and I really attribute that to RJ, who has made sure that mental health is at the forefront of our entire school district. Well, that shouldn't stop in the summertime, so we've been seamless in adding and partnering with CNS Healthcare to provide 2 programs every week. One was for parents, if the parents were there, and one was for the students. So they had fun activities, they had crafts, they were able to have conversation about some of the experiences that they were having, as well as parents be able to ask some of the really tough questions. We talked about suicide, we talked about domestic violence, issues that they don't necessarily always get to walk in and talk about, but we're able to do so in such a way that they feel comfortable having these kinds of conversations, guided by licensed psychologists and support staff in the mental health industry. We also have on here 3 of the programs are actually Novi High School student-driven programs. So a couple of things going on there. As our kids have gotten older and are no longer like the 12 and 13, but they go on to high school and have been part of the program and have benefited from the program, their give back has been to actually help design programs that they're able to do while at Feed the Need. So one is called Chance to Dance. Madeline Simmons and Maggie Clark were able to put together a 5-week program because they've had dance to teach our kids how to dance. We also had Irina to do a program on STEM, and Masi Nima, who received a NEF, Novi Educational Foundation grant for $3,000 that did a 9-week program with STEM every week where the kids got to do 3 STEM projects every single week in rotation. Most popular program that we offered, and she's done that now for 2 years. So the other great thing about the program is that our young people are able to participate and do things in the program. The robotics, Mr. Peace, if anybody knows Mr. Peace in the community, he is a rock star amongst our kids. But just really able to offer a lot of things. We also have a mobile dentist come out, and Vision partnered with the Smile Program of Michigan and the Lions Club Vision Program. And then some of our volunteers at the bottom. So we have volunteers. This year was over 210 volunteers. 82 of those are students from Mercy, Catholic Central, Walled Lake, Northville, and then the bulk is Novi, which I'm really proud that the teens are able to get involved and give back. And I'm not talking about they come one day. They come every day and give up their summers after their baseball games, after their football practices, after their piano lessons. They come every day and they get so much out of it. And I'm hoping one of these days when we're not happening at the same time of school to let you see some videos of the kids and how they feel after participating in Feed the Need. And I could just go on. There's so many more. We're able to give back filled backpacks, partnering with our Interfaith Network in the community to get backpacks to kids. Oh my gosh, so much. Oh, and we did our health fair at 2 locations. So Oakland Glens, where we haven't been able to do a health fair, we did one at Village Oaks and one at Oakland Glens. And you'll see some pictures of those as well coming. I'll try to hurry up.
No,
Okay.
we do okay.
Here's the thing, too. We do this twice a month And if
Okay.
we feel like we need to speed through the good news like this, then I personally will say probably shouldn't be a central office administrator or a school board member. I mean, this stuff is the joy of the community we live in because it's everybody.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It is.
So we're with you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So another really proud thing is that Novi Education Foundation helped to fund a local garden at Parkview Elementary. I'm sure you've heard about it already. Well, when the kids, after they decided that they wanted to have a garden, they had to decide where all this produce was going to go. And they invited me to their classroom, and I was like, all of these miniature second graders who wanted to give back, and they told me what they wanted to do. They presented their ideas and said, what do you think about this? And I was floored because two things that hit my mind that day. One is that it was other kids in our community who wanted to help other kids and do it from the bottom of their heart, never having met these other children, not realizing that those kids who need their help sit in their classrooms. The other thing that I thought is the produce is going to go literally 2.1 miles. It's not going to have any kind of pesticides and things on it, and it will be created and made from kids that are right here who care about the other kids. And what the young lady that's down there, when the vegetables would come in, they would go wild to get the cucumbers and the green beans and tomatoes to take home, and they knew where they were coming from. And so this is just a very special garden because it was one of the first ones, and that their first thought was to give to feed the need. And the big picture is of the new garden that will be able to do like 5 times as much produce. Right now we get it 1 day a week for about 100 people, but we now believe that we'll be able to get somewhere around 250 items every week from this garden to fill out to get to our other locations as well. And so I'm very, very proud of this garden, but it gets better. So Deerfield, being inspired by Parkview, wanted to have a garden. So this is their garden the very first year, and it was insane. They have 4 boxes right now with beautiful flowers and with garden items. And every week they would bring their produce as well, and the kids were so excited that they were growing eggplant, and it's just such a good experience. So I'm in love with both gardens now. And I'm hoping that the third one, fingers crossed, will be able to be at Village Oaks Elementary School, which is where we host the program. And those kids will actually be able to make some of their own produce. So I'll be bugging all of you and hoping that you'll pull out your checkbooks. All right, so there's another partner that helps make all of this happen. He's always behind the scenes all 5 years, but I would be remiss if I did not mention him, and that is Bruce Hinkle. He is amazing. When we were at 53 volunteers, he was coordinating them. Now we're over 210. He still coordinates them from home. He works nights, he works days to make sure that they have everything they need in order to be able to serve and do so seamlessly. And in 5 years, we have had 0 issues with any of our volunteers, and I really appreciate him for being able to be my partner in crime in doing so. So he always teases and says, I'm the Batman, and I always tell him, but you're the best Robin I ever had.
And, Bruce is one of those people that doesn't want any attention
No,
in
he
those pieces of
doesn't.
it. And from a school district standpoint, what we do as a school district as well is we provide the background checks for all of these volunteers. So Bruce does that, but we here in central office and Dr. Kinzer's team actually executes the background check, so we make sure that that's all on par.
So we have no issues. So thank you for that. So just a couple more videos, pictures. We've had live animals. We've had the AAUW come out and do Let's Read Math. We've had other students, teens, teaching and tutoring other young students. Where they actually come in eager and ready to they have math games and reading games and spelling games. And a lot of the teachers would say that the kids would come back in September, and you know how you lose a few of your skills because you've kind of just been watching TV and playing video games. Well, because the teachers are actually helping me with what our tutoring program should be, and many of our teachers in the district come and volunteer with their babies in their strollers and their other kids in their activities over the summer, but they come 2 days a week to volunteer so that we actually have really qualified tutors to help our kids with the things that they might get stuck on over the summer. And then more pictures from our mobile dentist. Dr. Ophelia, the principal at Village Oaks, has known for about 2 years that I wanted to have our own library. So we're in a building with a library, but we don't disturb it too much because the librarians there have really kind of set things for the summer, and we would kind of go in and shuffle things around, and I felt kind of bad because I knew we were leaving a mess there come September. So Dr. O'Feely came and told me on the first day that we came that he had a bookshelf for me that he thought I could use as a library. And we quickly inherited a second bookshelf that we were able to use to have a summer library where books were donated from all of our elementary school libraries that were kind of out of circulation but could still go home with the kids, as well as our Novi Public Library, which is where I worked during the school year. And we were able to put together a reading nook for the kids, and every day they would come and like literally fight over the beanbag for who's going to sit there and read books. But this is exciting because it just sort of re-energized them over the summer where they wouldn't normally be thinking about reading books, to really get involved. And they could take home as many as they wanted, or as few, and sometimes they'd bring them back if they were done reading them, or they'd ask if they could pass them on. We put a partner book nook at Oakland Glens as well, so we have a bookshelf that's there that we had replenished, and we still replenish it now. In our health fairs, there's Dr. O'Feely. We have a great partnership with the Novi Fire Department and Police Department. All of their members of their team, so 78 police officers, and I believe it's 62 of the firefighters. Each day at each location, we have one visit, one. So every single day, the kids are having these interactions. And these are important because when I was growing up, we were able to build relationships with our police and fire department because they lived right next door to us in many cases. It does matter how they get along with their police and fire department as they get older. And being able to play crafts and have conversations, because you see them every day just like any other person, like a teacher, they really do build lasting relationships. And 2 years ago, after the fire department was coming like every day to feed the need, they actually had to go to a home. And they said that when they got to the home, the child at the home recognized them as one of the firefighters from Feed the Need. And that meant a lot to the firefighter. And so that's why we have these interactions, just so that they build a rapport with them. We also have our very talented Frog Force Robotics come out at every grade level, so elementary, middle, and high school. And the kids are very fascinated with some of the things that get built, and some go on to actually participate in that program. Some of our sponsors, and there's so many, there's like too many to list, but I wanted to name some of our main sponsors who make sure that our program runs seamlessly because they donate financially or they donate volunteers. But our program would not be what it is without these main sponsors giving year after year. I always ask a sponsor to partner with us at least for 3 years. All of our sponsors have partnered with us for 5 years so far, so and still going forward. So I'm very grateful for that. Novi Community Coalition came a couple of years ago and said we can help with all of the programming. We were spending about $3,000 to $4,000 on programming in the summer, and that's like having a speaker come out or like a Mr. Peace come out, or having a special program to like educate kids or do a food demonstration. Well, Novi Community Coalition pays for all of that for us now. So they've been a great partner. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for Sheila always putting out my last minute, like, we're doing this, we want everybody to come. Paradise Park every single year has hosted our field trip. They pay for our bus. They pay for all of the food and for the kids to have a whole day there to get on every ride that they want. I'm just grateful to have the privilege to do this. It is absolutely what I love to do and cannot wait for 2020.
Thank you, Tia. Any questions or comments from us at the table?
I would say thank you a lot. I remember when Feed the Need started, and it was a little thing.
Yep.
And now it's a big thing, and so many beneficiaries, and our kids are just lucky.
And it's
We
a
have
super
lucky
example of how broad, Kathy, the community support is behind this. That hunger or just the notion of just needing community because of a sense of loneliness knows no religious affiliation or political affiliation. And so this is really, to me, the best of everything coming together, whether it's the city of Novi. Paradise Park has been a great partner, so Jeff and Teresa Wainwright, who have been in Novi forever and have been huge supporters of it. Mr. Peace is actually a former student of mine from South Lyon. My first year there, he was a 7th grader. I can see his face there. It's just on and on and on. And these are the metrics that I wish Lansing and the news media would mention. When they talk about public education or communities not being what they once were, I would invite them to Novi and say, come and take a look. Talk about the metric of over 10,000 lunches fed to kids that weren't getting that 6 years ago, not even one.
Yeah.
Like, let's feature and think about the things that we do well together rather than those things that divide us. So I am so grateful as well. Tia did the first ever Rotary Mental Health Symposium for a region.
Yes.
And that was at Novi Middle School. And that was earlier in the year. And I don't know when you sleep. I don't know how you sleep with everything in your head.
I don't.
All
Not all
I
the
know
time.
is that we are exceptionally grateful for your commitment to our kids and our community.
It is my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, RJ, for
You're
all your
welcome.
support. All
Of
of you
course.
have helped in so many ways. There's some Rotarians in the house, so thank you to Rotary. But I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tia.
Tia.
It's awesome. Mr. Peace, is that Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin Swallow.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. I will turn it back over to Dr. Weber
Thank
for our
you.
next guest.
Thank you, President Smith, Acting President Smith. I shall say it feels kind of good, right? So this is just a night of goodness in so many ways. So for 10 years, I've had the pleasure of working beside Miss Elena Brown, and Miss Brown has become, Maggie, 2 years ago, Elena, retired? So in her 3rd year, Elena is really the captain of our advanced placement and international baccalaureate programs. We also have Principal Carter here. Principal Carter is basically the mayor of a city, if you think about it. Over 2,000 students in that particular city up the street. And so many things, we're blessed beyond belief with the opportunities we have, but those opportunities can also cause stressors for principals and teachers and parents. Our advanced placement and international baccalaureate programs are really amazing, and when Elena shares with you the growth that we've made there, and most important, at least in my mind, is this equity of opportunity and access. And what it might not be in the report that I need you all to know is Elena Brown really was the tip of the spear a couple years ago in working with Melissa Matson to find ways and to find monies to pay for fees for international baccalaureate students and registration to get students access to programming their parents may not be able to afford. We're happy tonight to report that maybe IB stole Elena's idea and are actually making that a little bit easier. So I welcome Miss Elena Brown tonight for a report and update on advanced placement and international baccalaureate. Also, I know Principal Carter's here, so Principal Carter, if you feel at any time you want to jump up to the podium and emphasize anything, feel free. Elena?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak with you tonight. Thank you to Dr. Weber and Mrs. Carter for all their help over the years as I figure out how to do this job. I'm still learning lots. But I just want to give you a brief overview of what's been going on recently with these programs because it is a lot of our kids, as you'll see from the numbers. Just to start out with our results from last spring, our students do exceptionally well. We gave almost 1,700 exams. And the majority of the kids passed, well over 80%, got a 3 or better, and that's what we consider passing. There's a lot of stats here. I'm not going to read them all to you, but I thought you might want them for the record or whatnot. They also give these AP Scholars, and I'm not really sure how they get the scores on these because the score averages change every year, but these are our AP Scholars. Our AP Capstone program is a new diploma program within AP. They're required to take 4 AP classes. And then AP Seminar, their junior year, where they learn about research skills and presentation skills. And then their senior year is their research year, and they do independent research for a year. And at the end, they write this long research paper and present it. I forget how long it is. I think it's 3,000 words. And 13 of the 14 students who attempted it last year got the capstone diploma. So that's what that new number is there that hasn't been done in the past. It was our 2nd year of capstone students. So total scholars, 374 of the 750 students became AP Scholars, and they put that on their transcripts or their applications when they apply to college. This year, our numbers are looking really good, better than last year, which is odd because there are a lot of changes coming from College Board, which I'll share with you in a few slides. Part of the reason I wanted to be here was to share those changes with you. Our numbers are up despite moving registration 3 months earlier. So you'll notice that we have 874 students testing of 893 that are eligible, and they're signed up for over 1,700 exams.
So Elena and Principal Carter, in 11th and 12th grade, we have roughly, let's say, 500 students. Is that accurate?
Yeah, mid 400s to 500.
For that, so when we look at these numbers in 11th and 12th grade, is this saying that there are 324 out of those students who are taking at least one AP test or class?
Close. It's actually sophomores and juniors are the bigger sets of AP testers, and then seniors it starts to taper off a little bit.
That's amazing, though. When you
Yes.
think of the amount of exposure that we provide to our students and that range of it, almost 75% of our kids are taking at least one AP course.
And I walk this fine line of encouraging students to test and wanting to support them in testing and provide scholarship opportunities and not wanting to increase that pressure. So as I'm confirming all of the registrations this week, or as I have been confirming all the registrations this week, I have been contacting specific students who I contacted their counselors to make sure they weren't testing because of financial need. Maybe they don't qualify for free and reduced lunch, but we do have available money that we use for scholarships to support students who can't pay the whole $94 per test. So I've been working on that before finalizing my registration. Not trying to get to 100%. We don't need all the kids to register. I just want to make sure every kid who wants to can. And these are the changes I've been mentioning. College Board overhauled basically the whole way they run their program. Our teachers have access to AP Classroom now. Resources available to teachers. They have, and I wish I could point to the slide here, but they have all of their units have been structured for them. It's supposedly, and I say that carefully, supposedly the same curriculum they had in the past, but College Board has designated units, and attached to each unit they have personal progress checks, formative assessments for our students. They have sample free response questions, and then they have a question bank that the teachers have access to. Depending on the discipline, they could have upwards on 1,000 questions or down to 500 for newer classes. But they have all these resources at their disposal. What this means for the students is that any student enrolled in an AP class, regardless of if they test, but if they're taking an AP class, they get a join code and they have access to these resources to the degree that the teacher makes them visible to the students, but they are there for the students to work through. And again, available to all students regardless of if they test. In order to get access to this, those students do have to register through College Board. They have to join AP Classroom. And College Board made a lot of suggestions in terms of how this all goes about. Sign up for AP Classroom on the first day of class. Register for AP exams by October 4th. Complete registration by November 15th. And the exam fee this year remained at $94, but they added a $40 late fee for each exam. Which is, so if students decide this week that maybe I didn't need to register, I can still refund their money, but after the 15th, I can only refund 54 of their dollars, which is pretty harsh from my perspective. But
I think the
that's,
board agrees with that as well.
that's the way that they're running it. So some of our responses to these changes, AP Classroom couldn't be established until August 1st. I went to trainings. I've been trained as a College Board consultant as well, and all I saw were screenshots until August 1st. So I couldn't get in there and set it up for our teachers until then. Therefore, our teachers weren't familiar with what AP Classroom actually looked like until August 1st. And when they got in there, they realized that there were probably more changes than they were aware of. Not major, it was all the same curriculum, but the regroupings were something that they had to really wrap their minds around. And so fortunately, thanks to Melissa Matson and Jeff Dinkelman for working with us and giving us September 26th, I was able to provide an optional teacher workday so that the teachers could get in there, get their feet wet, work with colleagues if they taught the same class, and figure out how AP Classroom worked. We then bumped back that student registration to October 11th, and then we had them paying Novi by October 18th, and I've spent the last few weeks confirming all of that and making sure almost 900 of our kids are registered and paid so I can submit next Friday. And it all might seem like a lot of rush and a lot of things could go wrong with this, which hopefully they don't, but it did provide us an opportunity. One reason I want to take on this position as a former AP teacher, I was always concerned about my students' mental health and how much they were taking on, how many AP classes they were taking on, how thin they were spreading them. In my first year, Dr. Weber invited me to a student session where students shared their concerns about those pressures. Mrs. Carter's had me at parent coffees where I've heard those same concerns. I've heard them at the superintendent coffee with Dr. Matthews as well. And there's not a whole lot that we've been able to do, but with this new system, we've been able to reinforce the ideas of 2018, we ended most out-of-district testing. Get students who aren't in our district out because that distracts me from being able to do my job and serve our students.
So what we didn't know at that point, so the board knows, is for instance, students from Northville. I was in a meeting with Elena a couple of years ago and her phone kept ringing. And she said, "It's a parent from Northville, it's a parent from Northville. They want to arrange testing for their son or daughter. They want to arrange testing for their son or daughter." And I didn't realize that was a thing. And you were finding out it was a thing. And we also found out that we didn't have to do that thing. So we're no longer doing that.
Much to
and
the
that,
anger of Northville parents.
correct. And, the part that I think that we need to make sure we listen to is when Elena said, like, we need to be of service to the students who are here with us, who are taking the test, who are at Novi High School. So thank you.
And then this next one gets to specifically our students at Novi High School. In 2018, we stopped offering tests for courses we do not offer. This is common practice in other districts. It's not common practice in Novi. So we stopped offering human geography. We stopped offering world history because we don't teach those classes, and students were self-studying for those exams. The exception being world language, because we do have students who are native speakers who we want to be able to let them take this testing at that credit. 2019, fully ended out-of-district testing to improve our own testing environment as well as the safety of our own students. One thing I recently thought about is we're inviting these other kids and their parents in to test, but we don't know who these kids or parents are. I'm not comfortable with them being in our building in these extreme testing situations where kids are already stressed out. I don't need other stressed out kids there to manage, unfortunately. In 2019, with all this new testing stuff I just mentioned, they have this exam-only option where if a kid is not sitting in an AP class, you have to create a class for them that is exam-only, where they don't get all the teacher supports, which allows me to find out how many of our kids are self-studying. So we decided that when we had to figure out how to manage this, we were going to remove self-study as an option for our students. So back to that mental health piece and responding to student pressure, responding to the community calls to reduce the stress. This was one thing that we felt like we could do, was remove that option from the students. So administrative decision to remove the option of allowing kids to self-study. I don't have data on how many kids self-studied because I had no way of knowing before if they were actually sitting in an AP class. I mean, I could have figured it out, but it would have been a lot of back and forth.
So in lay terms, what that would mean is a student, all they need to do is to sign up to take the assessment or the AP test, but not actually sit the class. And what we found is typically the students who were doing that were students who had already accrued 8, 9, 10 AP classes, and they were thinking this would give them an edge. But as we paid more attention to mental health and well-being, what we found is students would sign up for 1, 2, 3 of those and then spend a month just studying around the clock to take those assessments. And as we talked to our counselors and Principal Carter, it became evident that colleges and universities don't really put a tremendous amount of value on self-studies assessments anyway, because they know, like, it's better to sit the class and take the assessment than just do it. Now, not to say that some of our kids couldn't cork a 5 with self-study, sure, fine. But at some point, I believe, and I'll say this openly and publicly, we as the adults at this table who are given the public trust to run our community school district need to make decisions that may sometimes be unpopular, but are with that trust in the very best interest of our students. And we may get a few students who feel it's not fair that we're taking that choice away from them. What we can say is we've seen a sharp rise in anxiety and depression in our students, and whatever we can do from an adult standpoint of people who run our community school district to mitigate that, I believe we should. And so this is one small way we could do that, so thank you for that, Elena.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for your support on this. When the counselors did check, there are no other schools that aren't allowing self-testing, so we are in our uncharted territory here, but I think it is for the best of our students. The exceptions are students who are retesting and world language students. We have 32 students currently sitting in that group right now. Okay, so that's all for AP. On to IB. Much smaller set of students test. For one of the reasons that Dr. Weber mentioned, there is a registration fee and an exam fee. We tried removing that registration fee last year, hoping to encourage students to test, but it was already out there that it was expensive and not worth it, and there wasn't the payoff. So our numbers are small, but the students sitting in the class are quite a large percentage of our student population. Our students typically get 75, 85, 95%. If we look at past years, get the diploma. 2 years ago, 100% of our students got the diploma. And our students score quite well. IB is on a 7-point scale, so 4s tend to get students credit at universities, and our students average a 4.87 if they're getting the diploma, and a 4.6 if it's just an average IB student. In terms of our student breakdown, you cannot be in an IB class unless you're an 11th or 12th grader, already reducing our numbers because that's removing 250 sophomores that are sitting in AP classes. So there's 386 students enrolled in IB classes. 45 of the 134 to 154, it's odd how the testing goes slowly the second year, who are eligible to test are testing. And they're taking 82 exams. The numbers are smaller for a whole host of reasons, which I won't tell you all the details about right now. But one thing that we are working on within IB, one of the benefits of IB is it's supposed to be a community. The IB program is supposed to provide this small cohort where students can work together and develop themselves as a whole student and as a whole person. And so we're working to develop that community. 2 things I want to highlight are curricular changes and the importance of the learner profile. The changes that we have coming, this year we have new language curriculum, and I'm sorry it's kind of small there for you, but world languages began to change last fall. New testing is this year. Last year we trained 6 IB world language teachers. We were fortunate enough to send them to Florida, 2 different trainings, but they all went. They're all really excited about the new curriculum because it's doing great things for their kids. So it's good, and for all their kids, not just their IB kids. This year we have new IB literature and mathematics starting. They won't test until next year, so we have a little bit of a lead time. But what we did last year is when I calculated what it would cost us to train all of these teachers and create backups for some of these teachers who are the only ones teaching it, it's going to cost us around $16,000 to train all of them. So instead, we held our own IB workshop at Novi High School, thanks to Dr. Weber and Melissa Matson for helping me figure out where to house it, and Nicole Carter for opening up the building to us. We were able to not only run training for 8 of our teachers, 85 teachers throughout Michigan, a few in Ohio. So we have this local network of teachers to support each other, but we walked away with a profit rather than a loss. And IB doesn't get money back for exams like AP does. We get $9 per exam. So I don't have a lot of budget to spend on the students and student programming. So now I have some money in that bin to support our students. So other program changes. Barb Clift retired last year. She's a great loss to our program. Huge wealth of knowledge, support for our students. They loved her. She did an amazing job with the community service piece of the program, but Christopher Capuano was really excited to take that position over, and he's been enjoying it. We still have to get him trained, so we're going to send him for training this spring. Other change, you might know that Theory of Knowledge class has been taught in 0 hour traditionally. We've had a really hard time getting teachers to stay in that position. So I've been talking to other teachers at IB Schools of Michigan to find out what they do. Northville does a blended curriculum. Walled Lake Western does something at lunch. So we merged those 2. And so Ronnalee is teaching Theory of Knowledge during a lunch, AA, and online right now, so the students don't have to get up so early and get to school. Because we know that getting up so early is bad for our students, bad for our teachers, bad for everyone. So we've removed 0 hours an option for them. And we're hoping that this will help grow that class, which more kids could now take, now that it's not coming in so early in the morning. As we move to maybe 2 AAs, that will also open up that option to more kids because they won't have to give up their lunch anymore. And then just good news, IB removed the $172 student registration fee that was on top of the $119 per course exam. That's what Dr. Weber was mentioning before. And then I think you have the handouts for the new math curriculum. So IB Math officially changed this year, but we don't have anyone testing this year, so we don't have to actually change till next year. So we're using this year as a year to review, revise, and improve our classes. So Garrett Zuck, Katie Brock, and Jacob Dame are currently working on the new math curriculum, which is tweaks to the existing classes, some significant tweaks, but tweaks to the existing classes. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that those are coming. There might be some textbook proposals coming your way and some curriculum presentations coming your way, but we're not changing the classes, the names of them, but the content is still largely the same. I just wanted you to be aware that those are out there. And then lastly, the IB Learner Profile. IB is supposed to make the whole school better. It's not just supposed to be about the IB teachers or the IB students. And one thing that I think is accessible to all people in our building, support staff as well as the IB learner profile. So I've tried really hard the last 2 years to make this visible. Departments have talked about it, we've shared about it. And at the end of last school year, I had all staff, not just teachers, all staff choose 3 learner profile elements of the 10 that best represented them as a learner. I made them these posters, they're hanging outside their rooms. And the idea was that every quarter we would recognize one of those attributes. So this quarter it's caring. Currently we are voting as a building, we're nominating students who reflect what it means to be caring, to show empathy, compassion, and respect. And then next week, I'll send out the top names, we'll vote on them, and every quarter I would like to honor students by grade level for these learner profile elements. Again, taking the best of what IB has to offer all of our kids and sharing it beyond the 380 some odd kids sitting in IB classes and making it part of who we are at Novi. So I think that's everything that I can think of to update you. Any questions?
Does the board have any questions?
My wondering
Comments?
on the AP resources, can we or could we connect that into Schoology or is an access
Not at
point?
this point.
Okay. And then just Ms. Roney, you're the head of our curriculum committee. One thing that you may see coming down the pipe is conversations around is there a way that we could integrate an IB math course into, instead of an Algebra 2, for instance. There's a lot of debate about that, but I also just want to give you a heads up to give every student in our community high school a chance to take an IB class, at least one, is a way to expose them to that world as well. Another great thing about IB, I believe, Elena, there are numbers of colleges and universities that if you graduate with an IB diploma, they will pay tuition for your first year of college at that university. And it's a good business decision for the college or university because chances are the student's going to graduate from there. If they've been able to do a diploma, they're going to go all the way through their college program. So it's a good bet that they're placing in something that's there. And I think it's varies. The AP scores that some college and universities take, I think each college and university has their own, the courses that they'll let you say that took credit for. Is that accurate?
Yes. So if you go on any college website, and they're always changing, so I always try to update them. They change every fall. They have their AP credits and their IB credits. IB credits are typically for the higher level courses, but increasingly some schools are recognizing the standard level or 1-year courses and giving credit for that. We just found out that Wayne State is taking sports, exercise, and health sciences as a credit, and Oakland University is starting to take that, whereas before nobody was taking that. So increasingly, IB classes are gaining recognition. IB doesn't do what College Board does in terms of marketing their classes to colleges to get credit. Their idea is that they are preparing the students to be better college students. So if they go for the full diploma, they are probably at the status of a sophomore. So their credits aren't as consistent as College Board's.
So that's
That's not their
something for
goal.
parents to remember is just because you may have had a son or daughter and then a couple of years later, it could have changed a little bit, so always check, but AP and IB can often offer value at colleges and universities and save parents money to knock out some classes, so that's something to think about. Thank you so much, Elena.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Elena.
Thank you.
Awesome. This gives us a chance to hear any comments from the audience that are related to items on our agenda this evening. If anybody has any comments, please fill out a blue card, give it to Ms. Holly at the podium. I don't see anybody coming forward. All right, let's move on, please, to the consent items. The first issue is, well, there's a few of them. I'd like to hear a motion from the table for an approval of the consent item. Trustee Cook.
I'll move that the Novi Community School Board of Education approve consent items A, B, and C as presented.
Support?
I'll support.
It's been moved by Trustee Cook, supported by Trustee Roney. I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent items are approved, 4-0. That gives us to our action item, and I'd introduce Dr. Kinzer for the personnel report.
Thank you very much. This evening, we have one new hire. It is Brianna Canedo. She is a 4th grade teacher at Village Oaks Elementary School. 2 resignations, Michelle Sherman, attendance secretary at Novi High School, and Li Zhang, an ESL parapro at Village Oaks. Also, 2 leaves of absence. One is Catherine DeMonico, a personal leave of absence. She is a special education teacher at Novi Middle School. And Tommy Fairchild, a health leave of absence, and he is a bus driver.
Any questions, or if there's no questions or comments for Dr. Kinzer, I'd accept a motion for this recommendation. Mr. Cook?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopt the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Any support for that? Moved by trustee Cook, supported by trustee Roney. I'll ask the question. All those in favor?
I did a question.
Oh, of course.
I wanted to ask Dr. Kinzer, so the fourth grade teacher at Village Oaks, it says it's a new position. Why is
Correct.
that?
So we watched numbers closely, and the first week of school made the decision that we had enough enrollment in August, just before school started, to warrant another class. We did budget for that class, thinking that it might very well happen. Made that decision, posted the position, and filled it. We have also modified a computer lab into another classroom. So with approval, she will begin tomorrow.
And so how many fourth grade classrooms does that give us at Village Oaks?
4.
In this fourth, so Brianna will be taking over.
I'm sorry, 5.
5. Okay, so Brianna will be taking over an existing class tomorrow, or are
No,
we splitting it?
we are not. So the existing fourth grade teachers, or the teachers that we currently have been planning for this, and they are going to flexibly share students,
Okay,
but we are not going to be splitting classes.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? It's been moved by trustee Cook and supported by trustee Roney. Again, I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries 4-0. Thank you. Will I turn to Ms. Minnick for the wage reopener? Or Dr. Kinzer? Sorry.
Thank you. After meeting several times over the spring and fall, the Novi Education Association, NEA, and the Novi Community School District administrative team, which was Mrs. Minnick and me, reached an agreement on a wage reopener. The NEA currently has a 3-year contract spanning from 2017 until 2020. The recommendation is that it is in the best interest of the Novi Community School District for the Novi Community School District Board of Education to approve the NEA wage reopener as presented.
Before I listen to comments with regards to this, I'd like to first ask for a motion to take action on the recommendation. Trustee Hood?
I move that in the best interest of the Novi Community School District, the Novi Board of Education approve the NEA wage reopener as presented.
Is there support for that recommendation?
I'll support.
Trustee Roney has supported. Before we take a vote, any questions or comments for Dr. Kinzer? Trustee Cook?
I will say that I thought long and hard about this because I'm very disappointed that we're going so far into negative spending. If we would have, we were budgeting more students and more fund allowance in the future than what we have in the past. It takes us down below our 10% threshold pretty quickly here. That being said, though, I am going to support this because I do believe our teachers deserve additional income. But it was just, to me, when I saw that we were below the 10%, in 2 years, that was, and that we had to forecast that growth and that the additional income on our allowances, on the funding allowance, it was disheartening to me. So.
Understood. Any other questions or comments with regards to this item? All right, it's been moved by trustee Hood and supported by trustee Roney. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved, 4-0. Thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda is information to discussion items. We only have one, which is the summer tax levy. I will go to Ms. Minnick for that.
Thank you. This evening we have before us the 2020 summer tax levy resolution. In order to continue to collect summer taxes as we have in past years, the board must adopt a resolution to continue the summer tax levy by December 31st. The district must also have an agreement in place with the collecting governmental entities, the City of Novi and the City of Wixom. The amount of the summer taxes collected may be either 50% or 100% of the total levy. As in the past, the district has levied 50% of the total levy. This report is presented tonight for review with approval to adopt the accompanying resolution to continue the summer tax levy at 50% of the total levy at the November 21st meeting.
Any questions with regards to this issue from board members? I think it's pretty straightforward. We've talked about it in previous meetings.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no discussion or additional information required at this time. Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you.
This brings us to our second opportunity for comments from the audience for any item not necessarily tied to the agenda. We've got someone stepping forward. Do you have a card, Ms. Holly, from this gentleman?
I did not fill a card for.
Would you please do so before you leave?
Sure.
So we can collect your information. Please, you have 5 minutes to address the board, and if you could introduce yourself. Thank you for stepping forward.
You're welcome. Thank you, trustees and superintendent. My name is John Gochi. I'm a former school board member in Wayne Westland, so I want to thank the board for their dedication to their community and taking up the challenge and serving on the board. It is a tireless job and a lot of effort and very little pay, so a lot of people have misunderstandings out there. Probably costs you more money with donating to events than you get paid. The reason I'm here tonight is a former school board member in Wayne Westland. We had to take draconian cuts due to state funding shortfalls, and I've seen a lot of our teachers take steps, freezes, and especially the new teachers, get out of college. They have to pay those student loans back, and they're starting out with minimal starting wages. So when I continued in my real estate career, I created a program called Motor City Heroes, which is a give back program. It's my way of giving back to those that help make our community a stronger community, and those that have foregone larger salaries to serve, such as teachers. So what I do is I give back 25% of my commission to educators in general if they're buying a house. So whatever commission I receive from the seller, I would give 25% of my commission to the educator that's purchasing that home to help them with closing costs or whatever they may need to help fulfill and close that transaction and get them into an affordable home. I also give back to veterans in the same program as well, and then first responders, but moved to the area here recently in Northville, just literally 5 minutes around 8 Mile and Meadowbrook Road, so I'm very close, and wanted to take an interest to come here to make sure that you guys were aware of it so you can let your staff know that maybe is in the market and needs some help. I also have some great programs with the state for newer teachers that don't make over $60,000. There's programs that will help them with down payment assistance and all that. So the program is MotorCityHeroes.com, and if anybody has an interest, they can go to the website or feel free to call me directly at 734-637-1430, and I'd be glad to help them out or point them in the right direction if they need some help. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your comments. And again, Sheila will collect the card with your information on it before you leave tonight.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, John.
Thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
That brings us to our next item, which is the acting superintendent's report. I'll turn to Dr. Weber.
Thank you. So, wow, this is awesome in the sense to be here tonight, be able to speak to this because our bond passed. And I look across the table, I look at Jill Minnick, who is really the steward, if you will, the captain, the maestro of this effort. And for her to bring everything together, to organize the meetings and countless meetings, and to very clearly articulate the why behind it and do so with a steady hand is deeply appreciated. So thank you, Jill. Friends of Novi for their support. Lou Martin, who has just been an absolute rock star for us in the community and what he's given to our schools. But Navi Conneru, who who ran for school board and is still giving in her role in the Friends of Novi, and Willie Mena, who is one of our trustees as well, who worked very hard to communicate the good things about this bond. Of course, our Board of Education, who now I have every faith will be incredible stewards of this $180 million plus that our community has entrusted us with to make good decisions for our kids. For everyone who went out and voted, whether you voted yes or no, thank you for voting with us and being there and being part of our community. We cannot wait to see it. So, Jill, thank you. Your life is about to get significantly busier. Board packet, bid packet 72, which you guys will probably be hearing in the next few years. So that's great. And right now, if you feel like a little bit of lightness perhaps in the Novi community, is because about 500 eighth graders are in DC, and they're doing their thing there under the watchful eye of so many caring adults, including our superintendent and our board president, our police liaison officer, teachers, and other parents there. And if you've been keeping up on Twitter, they're having a great time. Tonight, we also have Heather Burnside, who's the president of our Novi Education Association, in the room. I'd like to thank her. Her members participated in NBC had an education event on October 4th at the Henry Ford. And NEA members offered to do vignettes of why teaching and why they're passionate about teaching. And those were shown across the country in this nationally televised event. Also, former employee Carol Diglio was one of the panelists on the teacher shortage. So thank you to your members for taking part in that. Also, when I look at the fact of something like Feed the Need tonight, 10,535 lunches doesn't happen without a community public school district. So thank you as a board for supporting work like that. Tomorrow morning early, if you want to come out about 7:30, I'll be rolling a keynote at the Novi Youth Assistance. In the morning, I believe there's a free breakfast there, so I'm looking forward to that. They've cut me to 10 minutes, so it'll be witty. Might do a little bit of dancing. Do not get me off that stage in 7 minutes, fella. It's not happening.
You're not getting him off in 10.
No, I've got a hard stop, right? Okay, you're right, though. You know me. Also, to Dr. Kinzer, the pivoting on the Village Oaks, the good question there. It may seem odd to hire a staff member this kind of late in the year, but it shows the commitment that we have to our students and the notion of providing equitable experiences throughout the district. And the fourth grade at Village Oaks was trending at about 28 kids in a classroom, and it was just higher than the other classrooms there. And in order for us to walk the talk, so to speak, Dr. Kinzer had to go above and beyond to make sure that he worked with Dr. O'Feely to get that to happen. And the school board, of course, approving such a thing is something that is also deeply appreciated. So that's my report tonight. There's so many other great things going on, but the bond is really, when I look at serving in a community, this is my 10th year now, and to think that every time we've asked anything from our community, they've given it to us. Is an amazing thing, and we're exceptionally grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. I'd like to turn to Ms. Minnick and our administrative reports.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Weber, for your kind comments, but I absolutely cannot take credit for the many hours of planning by many, many people, planning for this wonderful opportunity that will benefit every student in our district. And I look forward to that hard work of making sure that every student does benefit and that we realize the utility of every dollar of those tax dollars. I also am grateful for the support of the community in passing our sinking fund renewal. The sinking fund is essential to relieving pressure on our general fund, our operating dollars, in order to provide regular everyday maintenance and repairs and some upgrades to our facilities. So that is very essential, and I'm grateful for the support of that as well. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Dr. Kinzer?
I have some thank yous this evening. First, with the passage of our NEA wage reopener, we've now completed either wage reopeners or contract negotiations for all of our labor groups this year. And I really want to thank our bargaining group leadership. We are so fortunate to have very collaborative, cooperative relationships with all of our bargaining groups. The leadership in each group is positive, and contract negotiations can be contentious, but they are not in Novi. And it's just another positive part of our work. So thank you to all of our groups for working so hard for us to arrive at solutions that are good for everyone in our district. Thank you also to Sheila McDonald. So she has been coordinating meetings for information for all of our employees as we are working through open enrollment for healthcare benefits. It's been extra work this year as we have a new platform, and feedback has been very positive from employees in the district who've gone through open enrollment. It continues for about another week. And then finally, I was able to spend the day yesterday at Novi Middle School. Mr. Baker is in DC, and Mr. Combe was providing some professional development, so I worked with Mrs. Southworth at the middle school, and it was a very, very smooth day, much smoother than my memories of being a middle school assistant principal about 20 years ago. So it was a great day at Novi Middle School. Thank you.
Awesome. This gives us an opportunity for any board communication. Who wants to go first?
I can.
Yes, Kathy.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to the community for passing our both bonds. I was at I'm our representative for the Oakland Schools Government Relations Committee. So we had a meeting last night, and there were quite a few districts that had bond requests, and most of them passed. Within Oakland County, I think everybody has heard about Ann Arbor, their $1 billion bond that squeaked through. And Dearborn's did not pass. So thank you to the voters of Novi. To Ms. Minnick's comments about the sinking fund, also, I wanted to just tag onto that. That does relieve our general fund.
Yes.
And we did, thank you to the teachers for agreeing to the offer. I don't know how to say that in the correct language, but thank you to the teachers for being collaborative and cooperative with us. Teachers really are the lifeblood of our district. And in the notes for our meeting, our teachers, the starting salary and the salary schedule has not increased since 2011. And that's 9 years. So it was timely, and I'm glad we were able to do that. On bond night, on election night, I texted, I didn't have Lou Martin's phone number, but I texted Bhavani, and I said, congratulations, nice work. And she gave me the perfect response, which was, well, it's really for the kids. And so the kids, our Novi kids, are going to be they are very lucky. And that's all. I'm just feeling good about that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. Paul, anything?
Last week I was able to attend the middle school choir concert. The 8th and 9th grade men's choir, the 7th and 8th grade men's choir, the 7th grade women's choir, the 8th grade women's choir did a phenomenal job. It's amazing to see the kids perform so well so early in the school year. So it was a very good performance.
That's awesome. Thank you. Ms. Roden?
I'm just very grateful that the voters approved, our two bond proposals, and I am finally thawed out from standing at the polls. It was very cold, and it was great. And I spent the night with Bhavani and Willie, and the smile on Willie's face was just ear to ear. He was just so happy. But I mean, as you said, Kathy, it was for the kids. It's great. I mean, that our community can support us in the way that they do. So that's all I really have to say. I'm looking forward to the robotic thing at the, I think it's the middle school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be fun.
Can I just tell you one extra thing? I'm sorry. And Mr. Cook just made this, just reminded me. The Novi Marching Band and Color Guard took 5th at the state championship on Saturday. And we had the discussion tonight about our AP and IB programs. We put a lot of focus and effort into academics. But to Mr. Cook's point about the choir, we also do a lot of work and support in the performing arts, and I love that. I think it's a good
escape sometimes for our kids to just go out and really have some fun doing something that doesn't include either reading a book or something on a computer. So that's all. Thank you.
I would echo the support that we've had for our community for the passing of the bond and the sinking fund. I also would like to compliment my fellow trustees at this table. I can remember it really wasn't that long ago that those conversations were being had in a very robust fashion around this table with regards to what do we ask for, what's appropriate, and I think we did a great job as a team coming up with something that we could all support that obviously was supported by the community, so good for everybody. Heather, it's great that you're here tonight. I'm glad that you and our negotiating team were able to come to in agreement on a contract. Some parts I wish it could be, robust, and we do the best we can. But to Dr. Kinzer's point, the fact that you guys can sit at a table together and get something done, it means a lot. And I think that you guys hopefully saw that reflected in unanimous support by the Board of Education. That said, I had dinner last night at Olga's with my senior in high school. And we were talking about one of her advanced or CAP programs, and it was neat. She was reflecting about how there was an assignment that was due yesterday, and during class, her teacher realized that he hadn't been exactly clear about some aspect of it. And to Dr. Weber's point, the level of anxiety about this 6-page paper that needed to be turned in today just got everybody in the classroom on edge. And to this teacher's credit, he went from postponing it to Friday, and they all kind of rolled their eyes and said, well, that just gives us one more day. And some of us wanted to go to the volleyball game tonight, and he said, fine, bring it on Monday. So there is some work, I know, with regards to our teachers, that they're aware of some of these other issues, and they're allowing these kids to have a little bit more space and to go to a game, and I just think that was neat. I guess that's it. So thanks, everybody. If there's nothing else, I would accept a motion. I apologize for the lengthy meeting tonight, but I agree with Dr. Weber that it was nice to hear from Elena and Tia Marie about Feed the Need and the IB program. So without further ado, I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Cook. Any support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Roney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, brother.